Mike Wise with your weekly mortgage update. This week, mortgage rates stayed right around 7% as inflation remains hotter than expected. So what's driving it? Well, the biggest factor that's driving inflation right now is called owner's equivalent rent. That's OER is what they say. So that's the measure that they use. It makes up about 40% of the overall inflation number. So it's a huge piece of inflation and the CPI. The problem with it is that it is not a very sophisticated model on this. In fact, it's not really accurate numbers that they're using. So what they do is they make phone calls to a bunch of homeowners on a monthly basis and they ask this question. If someone were to rent your home today, how much do you think you would rent it for every month unfurnished without utilities? And they use those numbers in response to how it impacts inflation. So they get responses that are all over the place. In fact, people always think their home is worth more than what it really is. In fact, they're going to rent it for more than what they really think that they can get from somebody, that's down the street that rented their house. So it's unrealistic and even uneducated numbers. So it's not real data that they're using. It is important because this is such a huge impact, 40% of the overall inflation numbers and how those CPI and PPE, all those numbers come into play. So it's not actually hard data versus actual rents. It's just made up numbers. The reality is on rents right now, the vacancies, they're starting to go up a little bit. The rents on the rentals, they're actually, they've leveled off. They're not going up as much anymore. So the Fed is actually making decisions on information that is not reliable information, keeping inflation numbers higher when the reality is rents are not going up. So higher for longer with the Fed is making more sense to me right now, and they're not going to decrease the Fed funds rate when they're making up these numbers from data that is unsophisticated. So what we need to start looking at more is the employment numbers, which is way more important. So when we've seen some of these employers, they're starting to lay off a lot of companies. They're issuing those warn notices. Those are 60-day notices that go out to employees that they're going to start to lay off people in the near future. So as those begin to happen, the unemployment rate is going to go up and we'll see rates start to come down. So we're still looking at May, June for them to start lowering the Fed funds rate, and that's when we think that interest rates will start to go down. Next Thursday, we will have our all-in-one webinar. I will show you how it makes sense for your client to get off the fence, sell their house, and actually buy a new house with an effective interest rate of less than 5% and build equity in real estate faster without relying on market appreciation. So the sign up, the link is below. I will be around this weekend. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to give me a call or shoot me a text, and we'll see you next week.